Hi guys, welcome to the Tale Podcast review of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Generals Handbook. It's just come out today, picked up the first thing. I've just taken the cellophane off, but this is the first time I'll be opening it. Ooh. So obviously everyone's got excited because this brings points to Age of Sigmar and Warhammer, which is what a lot of people have been asking for in terms of structure and points for armies. Particularly helpful for either tournament gamers or pickup games, just to make sure you're both sort of equal and balanced and stuff. So let's dig straight in, see what we've got. So the first thing is it is only a paper book. It's not one of the hardback ones. Obviously we go through a bit of the background. Covers terrain, game boards, how you do it, fine. So there's three types of gaming here. Point is only one of them. The first that it goes through is open play games, and this is sort of what we have been doing in Age of Sigmar so far. So this is basically about, playing scenarios, choosing whatever you like, basically playing it to a theme, agreeing with your opponent what you can do. It's all about fun, multiplayer games. Okay, so obviously it talks about multiplayer games, and it gives you rules. It does actually talk about rules for Triumph and Treachery. I don't know if you can see that on there, which I think is quite funny because it harkens back to 8th edition Triumph and Treachery. So it talks about multiplayer rules, goes through them, how you pick your armies, split your players into teams using any method you want, fighting the battle, how you do Triumph and Treachery. So let's just have a look, see what we've got, Triumph and Treachery. So you must have 3 or more players, pick your armies. There's 4 Triumph and Treachery battle plans, which we'll come to in a second. Still battle rounds. After the first players finish their turn, the players have not yet had a turn, roll a dice, and the player that rolls the highest. So again, you're dicing off every single turn. So it's just like Age of Sigmar to see who goes next. So again, the same person might always go first or next. You don't have your hero phase, your comma phase, battle shock, hints and tips. Okay, and then we've got our battle plans. So, King of the Hill, obviously defending the middle. Fog of War. Field of Blood for 3 to 6 players. Are they all 3 to 6 players? 3 to 5 players. 3 to 6. So yeah, so one's for 3 to 5, everyone else is for 3 to 6. It does have different rules depending how many players you've got as well. So they've really thought about this and how they've gone into it. And if you play Triumph and Treachery in 8th edition, you'll actually recognise these, how you have to hold a centre ground, you get one of the squares each, or how you have to set up in a corner, make sure you're 12 inches apart from everyone else. So these basically do harken back to the old way for it. There's sort of 3-6 players. Now this is an unusual battlefield setup. I think this is the first time I've seen a Realm of Battle board with 7. Okay. So I'm assuming it wants you to buy more Realm of Battle boards. How you do that one? So that's open play. That's what we've been used to. And obviously multiplayer games, and it's all about fun. Then you've got narrative games. By the way, I'm not saying all about fun in a bad way. I'm just saying narrative games. This is about how you tell a story, explains how you forge a narrative. And this is about continuing games, how they link together, and we carry on. So it talks through battle plans, and these are the sort of things, if you've been to Warhammer World events, it's the sort of things that they have practiced and developed there as well. It's about how you set things up. Hold or die. Okay, so hold hold one spot. War of Storms, Consumed, themed armies. So again, it's about how you do your themes, recreating battles, clearing of the way. Realmgate Wars map of countless battles. Herein lies one of those tales. I count one of the first battles by Sigmar's greatest champion. Okay. That's just about Lord Celestant against Scarbrand and things. It's got your normal battle plans in. The Death of Nagash. During the conflict known as the Great War of Bones, Chaos Forces assaulted the Realm of Death for 2 centuries. At the Battle of the Black Skies, it was Archaon himself who faced Nagash. Okay, so we've heard about the War of Bones in the previous lore books. Obviously, it gives you a bit more background. This will be good reading, actually. So, actually, I think a lot of people have thought this book is only about points. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of lore and background and fluff that's not been included in the other books so far. So this would be really, interesting to have a little read through. The fate of Saish, the realm of death. So it goes through all that. Obviously got some very nice photos. I would like to point these up later just to see how many points they are aside, but I imagine several thousand. Okay. It talks about campaigns, Path to Glory. So Path to Glory is about your war bands. So it's a bit like Regiments of Renown in the old 8th edition. So how we can do that. So again, it talks about how you have a warband roster, how you pick that up, how you gain your glory. Obviously, you champion your followers and stuff. So that's obviously if you want a smaller one. Use the following tables to determine the champion that leads your warband. The followers fight at their side. So again, this talks about how you pick who your leader is at your Chaos Stormcast. I'm assuming, without going too much further, this will be there for every one of the armies or factions. Fire Slayers, I don't think it will be. Skaven. Use the followers that make the units which fight at this side. If your warband uses Skaven Allegiance, you can pick your followers freely. Okay, from different clans. Ironjaws. Sylvaneth. So it doesn't look like it's the factions. Death. Just all death. Okay. So you may have to adjust some of these and alter them slightly to fit your army. So, for example, I can't see any ogres. I can't see generic candlemen, generic orcs or grots, Ironjaws, for example, in here. But I'm sure you'll be able to add all this thing on. If you were destruction, you could just use Ironjaws, etc. So that's in there. And then you've got your map campaign. So these are your larger ones, how you do it. And again, I really like how it's gone through, because a lot of people have probably only ever played 1v1 battle line, table edge to table edge games to the death. It's really good how they're doing the scenarios and they're explaining how you do your campaigns. And it talks about start here, what happens if one person wins, what if there's a draw. So I really like that, and it even sets it out for you, so it's quite easy to follow. So start off with the first scenario. If the draw, replay it until someone wins, depending what wins. Depends whether you play ambush or revenge. And then obviously it goes down and stuff. So I really like how it does it, and then obviously it tells you the campaign outcome. So you can just follow your way through the whole campaign, and you'll end up playing, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, which is a nice, obviously, campaign. I could even see that being done over a weekend if a weekend campaign was being held. Not that I'm dropping any hints to anyone, but if you want to. And again, how to pick some of your scenarios depending what happened and stuff, and it'll help you with all that. So really like that. Probably going to focus on this a little bit more, because this is what I think 99% of the people have been waiting for, who are interested in buying the Generals Handbook, and that is match play games. So this is what some people would call tournament games, point games, but it's a way to obviously play pickups, pick up games and tournaments and things. So first thing in match play, obviously we've got ladder campaigns. So this is almost like a football league style. So the more you win, the higher up you go. That's why it's called a ladder of command. Basically, winners go to the top, losers go to the bottom and stuff. And it's just a way of capturing the results from multiple games as you go along and stuff. It's no different to what we've been doing previously. Tournament games, obviously, it talks about everyone's encouraged. Please don't be scared. The focus at every single event is camaraderie and fun. I've been to a few events where that's not the case, but I'm hoping that's different for Age of Sigmar. But obviously, it's basically saying don't be scared. Go to tournaments. We'll give you information how to take part in or run a tournament. Throne of Skulls, you can go into Warhammer World, and basically talks about it and stuff. So, pitch battles. So this is what we think of as a one-off game. It talks about what we expect to do. It's split it down now into 3 types of games, really. So this is Vanguard, that's 1,000 points, which they expect to take about 1.5 hours. Battle Host is 2,000 points, and that would take about 2.5 hours. And then we've got War Host, which is 2,500 points, and that'd be 3 hours. It also depends on the size of the table you have. For a 6x4 table, we're looking at Battle Host. So most tournaments we go to, most games that you play, because most people have a 6x4 board, you'd be looking at 2,000 points, basically. I think one of the important things that they brought in is the rule of 1. This is something they brought in to balance it. So just going through these one by one. Each spell can only be attempted once per turn rather than once per wizard. So for example, if you had 5 slan, you couldn't cast Arcane Bolt 5 times, doing 5 times D3 damage and killing a monster in 1 turn. One of your slan could do Arcane Bolt, one could do Mystic Shield, and one could do a different spell. So you can't just keep spamming the same spell. It also means you can't have multiple wizards behind a unkillable unit just casting Mystic Shield and giving them a 1+ armor save. The best you can do is once cast on there. The second rule of 1 is a roll of 1 to hit, wound, or save always fails. This applies to the roll after any rerolls have been taken, but before modifiers are applied. So a natural roll of a 1 will always fail armor. So you can't get to 0+ armor and automatically pass everything. If you roll those armors and you roll a 1, you failed, basically. Even if you have +3 to wound and you roll a 1, doesn't matter, you failed, you rolled a 1 to wound. The final and third rule of 1, any extra attacks, hit rolls, or wound rolls gained by the use of an ability cannot themselves generate extra attacks. For example, the extra hit generated by a Ripperdactyl's Voracious Appetite ability could not generate further hit rolls. So I think some games and some people so far have been using, for example, the Ripperdactyl, where they get bonus attacks and it doesn't say anything about you can only do it once. So you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling until you actually fail. So you could go from 2 attacks a model to 40 attacks per model. So this just limited, basically saying no matter how you get these bonus attacks, it is limited to 1 extra. You can't keep generating extra and extra attacks. So again, it's just trying to balance some of the units out, some of the rules, make sure nothing's too broken, and make sure you just can't, shall we say, bend the rules slightly. So I'm quite glad they put that in there. I am surprised they've put the spell almost, because if you're casting certain things, obviously you're not helping your army in other ways, but I understand why they've done it in there, so I quite like that. War Scrolls, obviously, you still use your War Scrolls how you do it, with points. Now, we've also got reinforcement points, and this is about summoning, adding things. Each time a unit is added to an army during a battle, you must subtract the number of points the unit would cost from your pool of reinforcement points. If there are not enough points in the pool to pay for the unit, you must downsize or decide not to use it. If you decide not to use the unit, then the spell is still considered to have been used even though unit arrived. Okay, fair enough. So you have to keep your points aside, so you can't just keep unlimited summoning anymore. I suppose this boosts, it boosted the Destruction Army, because they always struggled with summoning. In fact, they only had 2, which were the monsters from Monsters Arcanum. So this really, obviously, I think brings them back into play, particularly in tournaments with unlimited ones. Monsters and cover. Oh, okay, so there's a new rule here as well. In addition to the following rule about monsters and cover used in all pitch battles, the save modifier for being in cover, i.e. +1, does not apply to monsters. So you can't put giants in a forest, you can't put your thunder tusks in a wood and stuff and get the +1 save. It doesn't apply to them now, so this is obviously too big to take advantage of the cover. 6 battle plans have been used. We'll go through them in a second. And then obviously talks about house rules and tournaments, etc. that you might go to as well. So, pitch battle. Take and hold. So, both players roll a dice. Obviously, it's 6x4. You put it at one objective, 9 inches in the middle. Victory is fought to control the two objectives at center as shown in the battlefield. A player controls objective if at any turn they have 5 or more models within 6 inches. Starting from the third battle round, you win a major victory if you have control of both objectives. So this is basically protect your territory and go and get the enemy's objective marker. So that'll be, you can imagine that'll be very, very bloody for that one. We then have Blood and Glory. So this basically is very similar, except we have now 2 objectives either side. So battle is controlled of 4 objectives. The objectives are located at the center of each of the quadrants. So if you like, you have the full 6-foot board. You split it into 3-foot sections, and obviously 1.5 foot in, 18 inches is where you put your objective. And it's basically, again, it's very similar to that one, but obviously I think this will spread out the fights and the game a little bit more because it's using the whole board as opposed to this one, which is sort of almost like a narrow channel. And I almost get the impression that if you have a strong combat army, you can almost just charge up and try and take it and stuff, unless they've got obviously fast units to come round and capture it. So for me, out of these two, straight away I'd rather play Blood and Glory, I think, rather than Take and Hold. Escalation. Oh, we've got the old fun diagonal. Very similar, 3 objectives, but they are on the deployment zone. So they all seem to be capture objectives. Okay, so we've got 3 on the line there. We've got 4 here, like a diamond. Again, I think personally, the more objectives, the better, because it means there's more you can do, there's more you can hold and take, and it's not just. My problem with take and hold is if you have an ultimate death unit. I don't mean faction death. I mean, you know, you might have 30 Iron Guts, for example, but they can just go and charge and collect that, and then you just leave everyone else around here to protect. It doesn't really make much of a game of it. Where if you've got multiple objectives, even if your opponent turns up, you know, and they have 100 more crushers, don't know why they would, but there you go, and they can't claim everything because they're all sat together and stuff. Obviously, I know it's not a real unit, but just giving the example. Then we've got 3 places of power. Again, they're in the middle. If you have a hero within 3 inches, you can control one. If a hero slays an enemy hero controlling a place of power, then they immediately gain the control of it. At the end of each... So this one, you need heroes to claim it. So there are different ones that you can claim it. So that one's all about heroes. Gifts from the heavens. Set up Meteor Strike. 2 meters will strike the battlefield in the second round, 1 landing in each player's territory. The player controls the fallen meter. At the end of each of your turns, you score a number of equal points for each meteor you control. Okay, so here you split your territory up into D3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then meteors will fall from the heavens. It could come in any of them, and you have to control those meteors as they fall. So it's basically around spreading out your army, getting ready, or always be in the bunch but ready to spread out as quick as you can. Get your meteor and obviously get into your opponent's zone and try and get their meteor. So they are the battlefields. It then goes through Gifts from the Heavens, which is the meteor one, and it actually shows you an example, and this is Chaos versus Order, and actually gives you a nice little breakdown of the army list with the points. So the Stormcast person, I think, is cheating. It's got 60 points more than the Chaos Demons. But I quite like how it explains how they've done it with the points as well. So you've got a full battle report. This is actually quite nice. I'm almost getting glory days of White Dwarf here with the battle report. Talk about piling in. I can see the charge phases. Meteor strikes where they come down. Now, I'm guessing the Stormcast win because they are the poster boys. Does it say? Who shall prevail? Victory. Oh, what a surprise. The Stormcast Eternal player took control of their objective in the third round and 3 points because they didn't lose control of their objective. They got 4, for the 5. The Stormcast player wins a major victory, 12-9, basically. So, what a surprise, the Stormcast win. Of course, I thought that was something important, but it's basically talking about the tactics they used and how they did and stuff. So, again, it's a nice little addition to the book. So it talks about the battles and trying to explain it in context, which I really like, because they can't assume that everyone playing Age of Sigmar now will know what it means to play almost competitively, because a lot of people haven't been since it started. We then go into, obviously, the points. Now, what I like here is they have the 4 alliances, and they have compendiums, and the compendiums include things like Tomb Kings and Bretonia. So these are all what we now call legacy scrolls. So nothing is missed out. Everything has points. Everything can still be used. So all those models you thought, oh, I might have to sell it on eBay and things, you don't have to. It's still in there. So it goes through chaos. First, I think the important thing to point out is how the armies are built up. If I just go back to it. Pardon me. So depending what game you're playing, you always need at least 1 leader. That is compulsory. You always have to have at least 1. You also have to have what's called Battleline Needs. So they are what we used to think of as the old core tax, the 25% of core that you used to be able to have, you were forced to do. So for a smaller game, you need at least 2 of them. You can have an unlimited number. Battle hosts, you need at least 3 of them. So for most games, you need at least 3 battle line units. And for your big games, you need at least 4 of them. Artillery and your monsters are also limited as well, so you can't just spam unlimited number of the monsters. The reason why I say that is because a number of scrolls, while they have points and things, they do actually say, for example, Ungor Raiders, if everyone has a Brayhead word on their scroll, then if you have the Brayhead Allegiance, this counts as your battle line. So you don't just have to take Gors and Ungors, you could take Ungor Raiders as well as your battle line units if you have 100% things of Brayheads. So this is where you get the benefit of not just having everything with the term Chaos, Grand Alliance, but particularly having it as Brayhead as well. So it goes through, obviously, all the points. It talks through the benefits of having, rather than allegiance, your factions and what you can use. Then we go through death. Just so you want to know, Nagash is 900 points. Just out of interest, where is Archaon? Where is he? Ever chosen Archaon? 700. So Nagash is more expensive than Archaon. I just wanted to check what that difference was. 200 points difference. Poor death, you only have 2 pages. Destruction is in here. The reason why I've just paused a second is because Ale Guzzler Gargants are your giants, and they are 180 points each. Now, there is a War Scroll, which allows you to take 5 giants, and you get benefits for it. You'll probably notice down here, some of these War Scrolls have points. So clearly, that War Scroll for the 5 giants, because it's not pointed, cannot be taken in pitch battle games. So you can't use the benefit of that. Other ones you might be able to. You can pay the points for the benefit. But other ones you will not be able to. So that's why I was just having a quick look there. And again, you'll find out how this happens. You know, for example, if you're taking Destruction, you can use Ogres or Ogors, the normal Iron Fist guys, as your battle line units. But if you're taking everything as Gutbusters, which is the new word for Ogres, your lead belchers with the guns are also classed as battle lines. So you've got a choice there as well. If you focus, you've got your lead belchers. If you don't focus and you want to take some goblin weapons and iron jaw units and stuff, ogres are your battle line. And I quite like that because, you know, for example, if you look at the iron jaws, you can take your brutes and ardboys and gore grunters as your battle line units, which sounds really powerful, but then because you're focused on iron jaws, you don't have any of the war machines, you don't have any of the additional range damage or additional wizards, for example. You're sort of limiting yourself, but then you obviously get the bonuses for it as well. So I go through the points. Gordrak, where are you? You're 700 points, you're the same as Archaon. Lord Celestant and Stardrake, you are 600. Okay, and is there a Celestant Prime here? Let's see how much that guy is. Doobie-doobie-doo. I can't even see the guy. Stormcast Eternal, Celestin Prime, 360, so he's actually quite cheap. So Nagash is the most expensive model available. So then, as I say, it was going through the compendium, so don't worry if you've still got an older army, a legacy army. You can still use everything here. So you've got your full points for Bretonia, the old Demons of Chaos, Dwarfs even, so not Doradin or Dwarden, High Elves, Lizardmen, Ogres. So if you want to use Golfag Maneater or Grecius Goldtooth, you know, happy days you can. If you want to use High Elves, you still want to use Caradrian or Corhill or the original Alariel. Again, the points are in there. You can still use their original scrolls from the app or obviously the GW store. And obviously your points are in here. So I really like the fact they've put those in. You've then got obviously your roster, and you can photocopy this for personal use only. So this just talks about how you've got, you know, it's just a nice sheet to write down your thing. The Allegiance, Abilities and Triumphs comes in here. Grand Alliances of the Realms. So if everything in your army has the same allegiance, i.e. it's all order, all chaos, all destruction, or all death, then you can use that as your allegiance. If everything is the same faction, i.e. it's all Sylvaneth, you could choose it's a Sylvaneth allegiance or an Order allegiance. If everything's Ironjaws, you could have Destruction or Ironjaws. So the reason why it talks about that is because obviously you get your benefits. Now the other thing I've just noticed down here as well is named characters such as Nagash, Alariel, Archaon are single and mighty warriors. As such, these models cannot have a command trait or artifact of power. I'm glad they've put that in there, because some of these artifacts and command traits I could see really, really making those guys broken. But obviously, these are for your generic heroes. So, your command traits is what your general takes. You can D6 it, or you can just choose. So it's depending how you want to do it. If you are going into combat with your general, you might want to give them +1 wounds. You might want to give them +1 attacks. If you are trying to defend and you really want to keep your general alive, you might want to pick roll a dice for each wound or mortal inflicted. On a 6, it's basically like an old ward save. You can ignore the wound, or the mortal wound is ignore. If you really want to get your army into combat, you can re-roll charge rolls for your general and all friendly order units within 10 inch. So it really depends how you want to play it. But the really nice benefits, and you can really theme your list around that. So as I say, if you are all order and all you want to do is get into combat, I'd probably pick Reckless and get everyone in, because you can re-roll failed charge distances. Artifacts are almost like your old magic items. You know, you've got -1 from attack rolls of people coming into you. Increase the rend characteristic of attacks, i.e. if you've got a sword at -1, it now is -2. So again, it depends whether you're trying to get someone into combat, protect them, boost your army and stuff. So it really does depend on what you're actually trying to do. Chaos, again, you can imagine what Chaos is about. It's all about damage. You know, if you're facing an Order army, that gives you a bonus against Order, so you might want to pick that one. You know, Terrifying Presence, subtract bravery of 1 from enemy units. So if you think your general's going to be getting into combat very, very quickly and causing bravery tests on the opponent, you might want an additional -1 to get people to run away. Destruction. You can pretty much guess what these are. It's all about destruction. So this is all about damage, get into combat, you know. Add 1 to the wound rolls made for your general. Pick a friendly unit and add 1 to the hit rolls. So for example, if your general is surrounded by a really good unit, so you might have an Ogre Tyrant surrounded by Iron Guts, well, you might want to give that, because it means your Iron Guts are now hitting on +1. And the big, obviously, disadvantage with Ogres, for example, is the poor ability to hit. So again, this is just about how you can choose how you're going to do it and stuff as well. Again, the same things with the artifacts and stuff. It's all about really boosting your how you do it. Now, one thing I have seen is might is right. Add +1 to the wound roll for the general. Battle brew. So this is like a special beer. You can drink it. You can add +1 to hit, so add 1 to hit and 1 to wound rolls for the model. So in essence, your general can be on +1 to hit and +2 to wound. So for most generals, because 1s now naturally fail, you're looking at 2+ to wounds and probably 2 or 3+ to hit. So most of your generals now will be able to do, you know, more damage than they could have done previously. So again, this just shows how you can use these things now to combine to really boost either your general or particular units or a style of play. Same with death, obviously. You know, you've got things like your general now becomes a wizard and knows arcane bolts and mystic shields. If he's already a wizard, it's +1 to cast, so again, makes it a little bit easier. You know, again, Predator of the Shadows, add +1 to hit rolls for your general if they're in cover. So again, if you want to keep them in cover, you might want to keep them at the back and they've got range attacks. You know, you might want to make it nice easier. You know, Death Incarnate, if you're facing someone with a low bravery, you know, Destruction, for example, or quite low bravery, then you might want to use this because you'll basically, if you can roll above their bravery on 2d6, you give them d3 mortal wounds. So again, it just shows how you can do it and stuff. And then obviously we have the rules as normal. So that is the Generals Handbook. It has been a very, very brief overview. I just wanted to share it. But obviously it covers the open play, the narrative play, the match play, multiplayer games, which I can't wait to have a go in Age of Sigmar. And obviously about the campaigns, how you link them, both for small warbands and full games. If you do have any questions, then obviously hit us up either on Twitter at Table Podcast or drop us an email, tablepodcast@gmail.com, or obviously leave a comment on this. But I hope you've enjoyed having a look at it. Cheers, thanks, bye.